The first company is Desmond from Festiie. Desmond, if you could share screen.
Yes, thank you. Let me share a screen here, and then I'll go ahead and create the, let's see here, full screen mode, and then you guys let me know if you're able to see it. New share.
Yeah, we'll be there in a moment. There we go.
All right. Great. Here we go.
Thanks, Desmond. Go ahead.
Yes. 100 people in one location and no phone service. Welcome to music festivals. One thing that is of uttermost importance right now, before we can get back to festivals, is peace of mind. What happens at these events? You end up having the time of your life, or you end up getting lost for 5 to 6 hours. We interviewed over 3 festival goers, 1,000 festival goers, and over 2/3 admitted to getting separated from their group at least one time at a festival. But Festiie keeps us connected. We created a device that works without phone service, without Wi-Fi, without data, and also has an app that allows you to let you know where your friends are. We've tested it over 2 miles range radius from one device to another, and it works pretty similar to walkie-talkies. Just imagine that, but with your location. And if your phone dies, Festiie will light up in the direction of whoever you're looking for at the crowded event. We have interchangeable bands because festival goers really take a liking to what you wear at an event. That also poses new opportunities for branding and advertising. At the same time, you have the customizable faceplate, and we have the LED compass. As I mentioned, lights up in the direction of who you're looking for. So it's been great. We've received a lot of traction. Our hypothesis was, hey, this is a viral idea. 2 days later, we received over 1.5 million views and 20,000 people signing up for our mailing list. We've tested our product at Coachella, at EDC, the largest festivals, and internationally in Japan. We also even took it to Disneyland. Of course, though, there aren't any festivals right now. So what are we doing right now? We're about uniting event goers and festival goers. So we kicked off a festival podcast, and it actually has been the #1 and the fastest growing podcast over the last 4 weeks. We've had artists come on, event organizers, vendors, people that are famous within the community. And at the same time, we've compiled a hub, which we call the Festiie lineup, which has a list of all the live streams in one location. And next up, we're rolling out the festival marketplace, which one of our software partners essentially is going to prove her concept. She had created a very in-depth marketplace to be utilized in another stream, cannabis stream. But what we're doing is we're going to utilize that and prove the concept with the festival market, because there is a lot of vendors and people who depend on festival season to sell their merchandise. As we mentioned, we're going to sell this to festival attendees, also the B2B option of festival organizers and event sponsors. There are over 108 million festival goers worldwide, and we're selling this product for roughly $49. We're targeting the moderate and hardcore festivals primarily, which is about 70% of the market. And over the last few years, Coachella's attendance has just grown. Festivals continue to grow each year, expanding their maximum capacities. Other than this year, right? That's the thing. There has been a shift, but there's the emphasis on peace of mind is still there, which makes Festiie very relevant because what we can do with our technology. We're actually leading the competition. There is another company and other companies out there that rely on data, such as the Find Your Friends app on your phone. Other devices are a little more bulkier and they're not wearable on your wrist. So we literally created something that's extremely user-friendly for festival goers, for event goers, something that you can just put on and not have to worry about having on. Our whole goal is to really scale this device so that we can get the cost under $10, and we have quotes to do that. If we can do so, we can sell it at a price that fits our demographic, which is roughly festival goers 17 through 35, and at the same time, we can see margins of over 80%. We're gonna skip through our financials right now. Multiple use cases, music festivals, of course. amusement parks, cruises, trade shows, field trips, and the list keeps growing. Even Alzheimer's patients with hospitals. I mean, there really are, when we're really scratching the tip of the iceberg, which makes it exciting. And if you're an investor, you can see how we're mitigating risk on multiple ends. Because if we conquer the music festival space, which is very, you know, that has an abundance of people, it would be easier to make the transition into these other spaces. And we really want to go beyond the festival ticket. Of course, finding your friends is the initial value proposition, but we want to be able to make purchases. There's big data. The event itself can send messages completely offline, not relying on Wi-Fi or data, to the attendees, which is huge in the case of any emergencies, in the case of anything that really needs to be directed to attendees in present time. So our team, myself, I'm a former professional basketball player. Now I'm turned CEO, say from hardwood to hardware. Co-founder Daniel Salihi, he's a software developer. He developed the top 3 budgeting app for BlackBerry. And in order to, you know, bring in some experience to the team, we recruited CTO of Northrop Grumman for 20 plus years, and he invented the GPS tracker that scales 200,000 people or more in one location and has been utilized by the US military. His name's Neil Siegel, and he has invented the Blue Force tracker, and he's a part of our team. We've also brought on Forbes 30 Under 30 CEO Adbite Shindi, another investor, Brad Yassar, who has successfully conducted multiple crowdfund campaigns. And then we brought in, additionally on the software side, another investor in Tiffany Burke, who has worked with Google and Uber. So as mentioned, we're kind of, you know, full stack with the hardware, software, and we're still dealing with radio frequencies, you know, but we're running on passion. And over the last 4 years, we've created 4 iterations of our prototype. We've had our patent granted to us. Design and utility is slated to be granted this summer. And we're very excited for the future still. It's still very extremely important. We believe that we will be back at festivals. We've put in $250,000 to date via founder bootstrap for the first 2 years, and then investment round via the angels. And we're currently raising another $3 million at a $9 million pre-money valuation. This is able to optimize our hardware and software, push out, as we mentioned, our large marketplace, complete the product and DFM manufacturing, and the IT infrastructure. Once built, whatever vertical Festiie goes into, it still uses the same infrastructure to scale devices, as I mentioned, scale up to 200,000 people per location. Expanding our team, getting to our official launch, and this is actually based off of comparable products within the space who have raised this amount at similar valuations. So as I mentioned, 4 different phases. We're very excited to get these things done. We get pitched that, oh, do a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo. We're looking at that to be icing on the cake rather than, you know, the end all be all. And as I mentioned, we're looking to scale. So we're going to start with 100 devices to 1,000 and keep that thing growing. Of course, we have 20,000 people already signed up, really excited to get behind this product. But there's more than that. We're really focused on uniting the festival community in every which way. As I mentioned, our podcast right now has been the fastest growing. We've had a ton of artists, and it's beautiful to see that we're really growing during this time. You know, it's how you respond to the times, and we're really excited to keep going. So thank you guys.
Excellent. Thank you, Desmond. We already have a couple of questions. So I'm going to ask the first one to you, Desmond, about competition and the potential IP landscape or competitive nature of that IP landscape. There are other wristbands available, correct? What about other ones like FunBand or?
Yeah, great question. Those are concepts, right? So FunBand is just a concept right now. Basically, what FunBand does is works off of LoRa protocol. So you would need to set up a certain infrastructure. So if I purchase a FunBand, which it's not in market yet, they're not pursuing it also, by the way, but theoretically, let's say they did, you would need to just use it at the event and then put it away after. So it's a totally different business model where we're creating a device you purchase, and it becomes, you know, a piece of fashion, something you can wear at the next 50 festivals, as opposed to a one-time. We are exploring the rental model business model as well, where you can just spend $10 that day and then put it back. But that's the difference. And then you talk about, for example, Link. they've created a similar type of compass. But as I mentioned, theirs is a clip-on, so you need to clip it onto either your backpack. It's a lot bulkier, and it doesn't have a light on it, so it's for daytime use. Totally different vibe than something that you can wear on your wrist, necklace, hip, with the interchangeableness on it. So, but it's great. You know, it just shows us that they're able to validate that, oh yeah, this is needed. So
another question, on a personal note to everyone, Desmond and I went to the same university, although separated by 20 years or something. But we also tried to get Desmond to use Festiie at our Ignite 22, and it was a little bit too early, and so that's fine. But there's a lot of questions around things like conferences, and since ours was Ignite 22 is a conference, it would have been a good kind of a test bed for other conferences of similar size or larger. What about testing that for, say, a scientific conference?
Yeah, so great question. We took Festiie to CES, and we've spoken with, gotten different quotes. For example, the same technology we would utilize for Festiie at CES, business conferences, tech conferences, is the same we use at cruise lines. So it's just little changes on the board, a couple things we can add, and we would be able to triangulate what level, what floor you're on. So if you're at CES or you're on a cruise line, because over 50% of incidents that occur on cruise lines do not get reported, you would be able to know what floor someone's on, as we mentioned, without the need of cell phone service.
There's a lot of fanboys in the science community, and they want to find their favorite scientist, and then kind of the Neil deGrasse Tyson, and you want to make your beeline towards Neil, and so that's a possibility, right, through the app and through the Festiie thing. Okay.
Exactly, and that's what we're actually exploring now because of everything that's going on. Now we're saying, well, you can detect how far people are away from each other. So that could be used, to find someone to keep your distance, or as you mentioned, if there's you can put a timer on it. So maybe Neil deGrasse Tyson's like, all right, for the next half hour, you guys can find me. I'll be here if you want, and you can use the device to do so, all off grid.
This is the corona virus times, COVID-19, and there is contact tracing and all kinds of stuff like that. What markets can you attack now immediately? Obviously we can't go out into the public festival market right now, but what are areas that we can look at now? Is there, use it for finding kids, at the playground? I mean, what are things that you can utilize straight away?
Yeah, that's another great question. So one of them is honestly, it's the peace of mind market. That is, that stock has jumped up, and just being able to know where people are, how far they are from each other, whether it's your child at a park or the beaches are opening up, that's already on people's mind. So you want to feel a little more at peace when you're at these events. And we're not saying that, the device is going to keep you safe, but what it will do is instill that. So that's one way. Another thing that I could probably say that we can utilize it with is in the push to get events back open. Because insurance, liability, these are now the hot topics. And with our podcast, we've had event organizers on, and that's what we're discussing. That's when we're reaching out to investors, and they're asking those questions as well. Okay, due to current times, what we want to see, how can we utilize it? If you're an event and you're able to say, well, yeah, we have Festiie, we have, X, Y, and Z to allow, prompt people to be able to, restart the event, or at least feel better at that event. It's, very important right now. It's just that point of emphasis. And if we're able to just give that information, that could be great.
Can it also be used as a way of allowing social distance to actually happen? I mean, can you use it so you can determine whether the person is 6 foot away?
Yeah, it's interesting right now, the things that we're kind of assessing. You can do that. I mean, I know that there's the whole, if someone's tested positive or asymptomatic, there actually is a way you'd be able to tell. And we're like, well, what if we're able to say, okay, it's here, and just kind of keeping your distance. So there that as well. So it's very interesting. And over the next few months, that's what we're looking to figure out. If we do a slight pivot, it might be to now making sure people are 6 feet apart, because we could find out, and it can be that precise with this device.
Okay, good to know. And what happens if you lose your device?
If you lose your device, I mean, you know, you can try to use your phone, but if you lose your device, you're going to need to get another device, right?
Okay.
That's kind of within itself. But what we did is, if you lose your phone, the device will light up. It's an LED compass, which is patented. So it will light up, and it's color coordinated to whoever's closest to you in your group, and it'll direct you to them. So at least you have that.
Okay. And what's the range for when Festiie is offline?
We've tested 2 miles, point to point. There is mesh bouncing allowed as well. So that's where the possibilities really, really grow. You know, because we're going to one festival and we're just finding each other, but you can extend your range because you're always transmitting and receiving at the same time. You're just only going to see the people that have allowed or that are in your group.
Okay, and two last questions, but they're somewhat related. There's the largest, world's largest boat show in Fort Lauderdale. That is got a lot of different brands, and they're high value brands, especially those big yachting companies. Have you looked beyond to those very, very large conferences as a way of, and also out of state?
Yeah, so Festiie has been tested internationally. So it works relatively pretty much everywhere. Now that's something that we're looking at, where we're saying, well, what if you put it on a truck, or what if you put it on a cart, or what if you have it on for the workers or the security at an event? These are all different applications. But for us, we do want to pick one, start there, make it through, and then start to assess the other verticals. Going back to that other question about, oh, well, what if you lose your device? You know, we are trying to see what we can do about that, because for the parent-child market, that is something that we want to be able to say, well, what if the device is taken off? Maybe it sends an alert at that point, right? And that's a little different than the festival market, but that's what we're trying to see as well. Because if we have, you know, kids can wear something stylish that they actually enjoy, that they can customize, you know, but then we want to make sure that it's not able to be taken off, or if it is, there's a quick alert so that there could be a quick response, and every minute matters.
With that in mind, is there an application for remote areas as well as cities and festivals?
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, remote areas, so areas that don't have perhaps the cell coverage, or they don't have, I mean, since it's GPS based, there's a possibility that you could, use it in a part of the world where there's some kind of tracking required, or you need to find something, and remote parts of Africa, rural parts of the United States. I mean,
yeah, that's the best time to use Festiie. You know, the best time is, because the way we have it is, at first, sure, if you have service, we'll go utilize the service, but if not, then it triggers the off grid. So we've tested it. We've gone to Costa Rica, Japan, and literally had our phone on airplane mode the entire time, and it's documented on video, and we've done that. So that's literally the use case that we want to use it at.
And the last question, because it's all we have time for, we have to move on. But your website is pretty much mainly about festivals. Will you be? I mean, the cruise ship market is a huge market, and especially now as the cruise ship lines are getting concerned about COVID-19, is there a possibility that you'll start putting other areas, so that maybe people don't get confused that Festiie is only about festivals?
Yeah, exactly. That's a discussion, you know, and that comes into the branding a little bit, where, you know, Festiie, it stands for festive. So, you know, it's not necessarily a music festival, but there are little changes we can make. When it comes to cruise lines are supposed to be a fun type of festive atmosphere. Theme parks are a fun, festive atmosphere. So that's really what Festiie stands for, festive. So it would be a little brand swap. And then also the cool part is music festivals and destination festivals were on the rise. And there were a lot of cruises partnering with festivals. So it'd be you sail out of Miami, you go to the Bahamas for 5 days, and then you come back. And then so that's literally the discussions we were having and looking at. So yeah.
All right, terrific. Well, thank you very much, Desmond.
Thank you guys.
If you could, you've unshared screen, that's good.